Welcome to the Dub and Trey Show. We are back again. Thank you once again for all my listeners, everybody who's downloading the content, everybody who's getting something from the content. I want to shout y'all out. Thank you. All my supporters, all our supporters, I want to thank you again for supporting Dub and Trey. We got a good one today. This one's kind of personal for me. Army versus the Marines, two different perspectives, two different ideologies. We're going to dive into it. We're going to really get into the weeds of what both branches of the armed forces represent, the good and the bad. So let's get into it. Me being a person who was in the Army, I have a different perspective, and I have some special guests here who are definitely going to give you their perspective from an Army perspective and from a Marines perspective. So we're gonna let Dub take the wheel and drive this train in and go from there. But we got my brother Ryan Swan, who is definitely a hardcore Marine, and we got my family, my brother. I'll let him identify himself. My people,
hey, Weezy, baby.
My baby, my boy P, my boy P. He is Army to the death, getting ready to retire. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
So yeah, man. So first, like you already stated, Trey, we already know what branches. So the first thing I want to know is, between y'all, what rank were you or are you guys upon you, leaving your service or currently in your service? Tell the folks what your ranks are in your specific, area of service.
I got out of the military at a sergeant level E5 when I was honorably discharged.
Same for me. When I got out of the Corps, I got out as a sergeant as well, E5 Marine Corps.
So I'm currently as a sergeant first class, getting ready to retire next year, baby.
Yes, sir. Sound like you're looking forward to that, Pete.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask y'all a series of questions and just see where the conversation go, right? I know it's Marines versus the Army. I'm sure we're going to get into all that, right? Well, one thing I definitely want to do is ask y'all questions specific to yourselves, and of course, your specific area of service may drive the answer to these questions, right? So the first thing I want the people to know is, what do you guys remember about your day enlisting into your respective service?
That's a dope question.
Like, what was your reasons? What were you thinking? What was your expectations and your fears? Like, what did you think that day, if you can remember back to that time when you enlisted and you made that choice? Tell us a little bit about that, man.
For me, it was a little different because I really didn't know what to expect. I was nervous. I was scared, but I knew I needed to do something. I knew I needed to make a change in what I was doing with my life. And one of the major inspirations in my decision was my brothers. Looking at the difference and looking at the opportunities that opened up for my brothers who became Marines really opened my eyes to say, okay, look, I don't know what I want to do, but I know this would allow me to at least set a foundation. So that was my main focus before swearing in and giving my life to the armed forces. I wanted to have a foundation. I wanted to have some stability. I wanted to have some structure, and I needed discipline. Because I wasn't who I am today, of course, but I noticed that the things that I needed in life, the military was providing, because I wasn't that, and I got that from seeing the difference that it made in my own brothers. So that was my whole goal. I was in the street. I was going in the wrong direction. I was making bad decisions. I was doing everything wrong. So, gone were the dreams of making it to the NFL and playing in the NFL. And I didn't have a backup plan. And then once I laid that foundation, experiment on different things that I wanted to do in life.
Okay. Ron, how about you?
For me, I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to challenge myself in a way that I had never challenged myself before, but I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. You know, it was something about challenging yourself and really being taught something in a different way than at that age. You know, after coming out of high school, that I had just never experienced. I knew I wanted to serve, and I knew I wanted to give back and that type of thing. But very similar to Trey, my first day on the Yellow Footprints, going to boot camp, it was scary because you don't know what to expect. You don't know, what to do, and you kind of almost feel like, you're like, why did I do it? But I would tell you,
that drill sergeant.
That's right. I would tell you after it's over though, you'll change forever.
You change forever.
You change forever.
Right.
So I don't know, P. What you think, P?
Man, I did this for my mom, and my cousin. So my cousin was in the Marine Corps, and then my uncle he did 21 years in the Army, and my brother he did 8 years. So it's just like.
And what your mom do? P?
My mom did 24 years solid.
In the Army.
In the Army.
Wow.
So that's who I follow. I follow my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I know that what I just said, everybody else that was in the military in my family, but I follow my mom. I want to be like my mom. That's kind of crazy because, most people say they want to be like their dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? But my mom was like my mom was hardcore. My mom was hardcore, straight to the point, get business done, no cut cards. So that's why I joined. I was following her footsteps.
No. What was the reaction to your friends and family when they found out you were going to enlist? How did they feel about it? Did you have any surprises about what people thought about, for all of you, obviously, about your choices to enlist in the service? Like, did your friends and family, whether it was good or bad, how did they feel about your choice and your decisions?
Well, for me, I would definitely say it was unexpected. I don't think anybody thought that I would go into the military. I don't think anybody. And if you would even ask me, I would have said, that's not something I want to do. Even though most of my family were military on my father's side and my brothers were military. But I think at some point, my brothers really inspired me because I saw the change in them. They were already, very persistent in their goals and their objectives and getting things done.
Them dudes was solid.
Solid. They was already solid.
Time.
So
yeah, them dudes solid for a long time, man.
So
I respect them dudes. I know we said we ain't gonna talk. Them dudes were solid for a long time.
The Twins was always solid, and anybody who's listening to this and know us, and know Dub, and know Trey, and know P, and know Ryan, y'all know the Twins is solid. So, and you couldn't mess with the Twins. You couldn't because you had a whole army behind them that was going to deal with you. But to the question, I would say the masses of people that were in my family, they were kind of shocked because they may have thought I may have been going in a different direction. But again, back to the original answer to the first question, the inspiration played a major role. Me being able to see the doors open for my brothers and me sitting around not knowing what I want to do, because this is the most important thing that I want to put out there to the young men and women. If you don't understand, I'm not sure if I blocked off or froze for a second, but let me say this to the young men and women. If you don't understand what it is you want to do in life and your original goal is not panned out the way you thought it would pan out, the military and the armed forces is something that will at least create that foundation, give you some stability.
I like it.
And also allow you to go forward and make some decisions later on in life. So that's my answer to that, Dub. So I'll let Ryan go after me.
Yeah. Now, Pete, go ahead. I think Pete was about to say something.
Nah, man. I mean, I love that part of that. Like, it gave me guidance. It took me into a different place. I ain't think I would ever be. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm about to retire from this,
That's amazing.
I ain't think I was gonna make it.
So what did your mother, P, I got a question for you. What did your mother think when you came home and you said you were going into the Army?
She said, "Boy, you a fool." The reason she said that, she was like this: I wanted you to follow me, but I didn't want you to follow me like that. She wanted me to do something. She wanted me to stay in college. She didn't want me to follow her into the military. But she didn't know she was my guide.
Yeah.
Man, my mom was a blessing to me, man.
She was a blessing to everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
That military thing with her, she showed me how to lead. I already knew how to lead before I even goddamn. I'm sorry. I can't. Can I cuss on here?
Speak on. Hey man, speak on it, man.
Oh.
Speak on it. Yes, sir.
Before I even got into basic training, I already knew what it was. My mom gave me the, hey, if you in formation where you supposed to be, of course you're gonna be in formation. Y'all know, regardless. Right place, right time. That's
follow
it.
Orders.
That's all you needed. Follow orders, and that's how I gained my rank. You know what I'm saying? I was able to lead soldiers before I even made like E5, E6 in the tournament. Way before, I was way ahead of my time because my mom already put that into me.
So you had insight. You had insight on the Army. Well before going into the
definitely.
Army.
Man, what?
That's dope.
My mom is still in. Yeah, I was laughing at these people when I was in basic training. They used to call me Smiley in basic training
because you already knew what it was about.
I used to laugh at them people. Oh, bed crawl. I was like, all right, cool, man. I know this shit about to.
That's wild. That's wild.
It's all good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think the family, like Trey said, we come from a family that has a long line of military, a lot of Army, a lot of Air Force. I only got one uncle that was a Marine. So Brian and I were the Marines. I think I surprised them with the Marines versus the military. Yeah. I think that's what surprised folks the most. But I will tell you this: my friends were totally blown away. they wasn't expecting to see that coming, and that's just because Brian and I, we graduated top of our class, so we had scholarships. We were going to college, and we really were trying to do the best of the both worlds, right? So we out of high school, we joined the reserves. This is before 9/11. Started college, was in the reserves, and then 9/11 happened. So then we went active duty, tour in Iraq, etc. But for what I would want to say to folks that are considering it, even if your plan A seems to be working out, you're going to learn so much grit and execution and the ability to get things done, even when you think that you can't. And in the military, that has totally propelled my career my ability to do startups, my ability to lead large organizations, my ability to think outside the box and learn new things and kind of become lifelong learners. Like I'm doing stuff that even as as somebody that had a really solid foundation, that I was actually able to use the military to propel me. So when you kind of think about it, you kind of heard what Trey and P said. It's like, even if you don't got a foundation and you're going down the wrong path, you need to like get your life in order. The military can be the answer. But even if you do got a foundation, you know what I mean, and you wanna sharpen the spear, the military can do that too. You know, and so it's interesting. You know, whether that is being enlisted or being an officer, I always say you got to follow before you can lead. You got to understand. You got to understand what it means. You got to, you know, I told my Marines, I never asked them to do something I ain't already done. You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
And as you get into leadership, you appreciate, you know, the people on literally on the front line. And I think our officers that have that appreciation make amazing officers, because they got that emotional intelligence to understand the difference. And while we all got roles, we all are focused on the same mission. And so I would just say, you know, while people were surprised, I think that just shows you that, you know, people can join the military for different reasons, and that's that's good. And now we got Space Force. That's a whole nother thing.
Whole different thing. Whole different thing.
So,
that's right.
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy.
That's something.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And I could definitely say to that leadership piece, in my experience, I don't have service experience, but I have been led in, you know, in the business that I do by people who were prior military. And I definitely can tell the difference between leadership who are prior military and ones who aren't. And I can tell you for a fact that the ones that were prior military were better leaders, not because they were better people, but because they had experiences that people like me don't have, whether good or bad. Like you said, I think it may be fair to say, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like whatever you bring your choice of service, they're going to make you better.
Yep.
No matter what level you come in at. If you come in at 40%, if you come at 110%, if you come in at 2%,
That's right.
they're going to make you better from whatever level you come in at.
You will definitely be a better individual when you walk away from the armed forces.
Yeah. So I got a question about that, Trey. Kind of leading into that. Give me a few things for you guys that you remember having to adapt to, that you found like your most challenging pieces that you had to adapt to once you were in that military life.
Okay.
Yeah.
First thing comes to mind for me would be dealing with certain racism, dealing with, I'm not sure what the proper term is, when you're dealing with men versus women, the biasness that goes with that, sexism, dealing with that. That is, those were the first things that I can think of off the top of my head that I had to deal with. Also, you know, another challenge for me was because my family is so close, and at the time we were going through so much turmoil, being able to understand and adapt to somebody telling you where to go, when to wake up,
I'm sorry,
when to go to sleep, being able to adapt to you not having control of your day to day. That mentally is something that a lot of people never get over. And I'm thankful that I was able to adapt, and I was able to, get over these things. But just off the top of my head, those are some of the things that, without getting into detail, some of the things that come with signing up for the armed forces, signing up for me for the Army. So these are things that are real. These are things that are current. You will be tested. You may be tested just by the way you look. You may be tested by the way based on where you from. You may be treated based on the way you look. You may be treated a certain way based on the way you look. And you really don't know for sure, but you have to grind it out. Perseverance comes in, discipline comes in. And these are the things that Ryan talked about that on the back end will set you up for being able to handle real life situations and real life trauma in the real world, in the civilian world, because you have gone through some of those things. So
go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, this is a good question. When I think about the things I had to adapt, I'm going to try to connect it to what it ultimately taught me. You know what I mean? So I totally agree with Jay. Initially, it's being told what to do. As you mature, you get a little older, get a little more senior, you realize the reason why they telling you got to get up at a certain time is because there's been a Marine on shift for 12 hours while you sleep, and it's time for him to get off. And so since it's time for him to get off, if you oversleep, he got to do another hour of work, and his accuracy might not be as accurate because you late. You see what I'm saying? So I got to teach you to get up when you're supposed to get up, because you got to relieve the next Marine. Do you follow? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now apply that to your life.
Yeah.
All right. You got to get up so you go to work so you can take care of your family. And if you can't get up, you're going to lose your job. You're going to jump job to job. You're not going to be able to give your family the life that they deserve because you are not disciplined. Do you see you see the connection? And so
I see
it. And so when you going through it, yeah, you adapting. And you're like, I don't know why they on me. Why we got to be up 0:30? We got to shower and shave. 2 minutes to shave them up, 2 minutes to shower them up. Why is that? That is because majority of Americans live a life that is full of fluff. Like they really don't have depression. Right. They're not worried about the the hot water running out. They're not worried about. Listen, you go to some parts of the world, and let me tell you, I'm in Iraq, and I hadn't seen a flushing toilet. I don't know, in a year and a half.
Oh man,
what I'm saying? And so when I got back from Iraq, I'm in Miramar, San Diego, and so many of us, they had us out in the hotel. I go into the bathroom, and I'm like, that is a modern marvel, right? It gives you a level.
It's a toilet.
It's a toilet. It gives you a level of appreciation that we take for granted, and because we take for granted, we become lazy, and because we become lazy, we can't reach our full potential. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I had to adapt to that, but there's a connection. So I think that's the first thing I'll say is adapting to being told what to do. But then you really got to adapt to, it's not the I, it's not the me, it's the we. You know what I mean? And once you get that, you can go anywhere and do anything. Let me explain something to you. There are executive coaches that are trying to teach C-level executives this concept. Right? Why? Because when you're leading organizations, it's mission first and troop always.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
For sure.
Right?
That's
right. It's not one or the other. It's both. Yeah. Right? And that's so it's adapting to that and kind of being willing to put the unit over yourself and understand the impact that you're doing it and realizing that the last thing I'll say is that there's a time and a place to get your questions answered on why. So, listen. Mentor once told me, a mentor of mine, he said he's Army JAG officer,
or
did JAG, a lawyer. Now is a executive at a big Fortune 500. He said, I do the exact same thing with my kids. His kids now grown, went to DeMatha, they doing great. He said, when my kids are little, we had this thing where when I tell you to do something in public, I need you to do it. But at night, I'm going to lay down next to you in the bed. And at that moment, you can ask me any question about anything, and I will not get mad. I will not hold it against you. So you got a time and a place to ask. But when I tell you, don't run into the street, I need you to stop. I don't need you to say, but Dad, the ball went. No. Military is the same way. When the CO or the sergeant or the non-commissioned officer, the staff, the gunny, whoever, tell you to do something, you need to do it. You can ask questions later. You know what I mean? That is something that a lot of people don't quite get, you know what I mean? Especially if they feel like, now I'm not saying if it's something crazy and it's way over the line. Outside of that stuff, it's these things where it's being comfortable, the adapting of saying, listen, this is my NCO, my XO, my CO, whatever it is. They are in charge. I'm in charge, and you get, as you build rank, you become in leadership. Mm-hmm. I need to understand that he or she is seeing a bigger picture that I may not be seeing. And now may not be the time for me to question what it is they're doing. Let me get it done. As long as I'm not, breaking any laws, right? Let me get it done. Right. And then afterwards, I can say, hey, I wanted to talk to you about why we did this. I was thinking we could have did it another way. Love to run it by you. And you pull them aside, you know what I mean? And learning that adaptation, how to adapt to that kind of thought pattern was something that I learned early that I had to learn as part of my becoming a Marine. So that's dope, what I would say.
I like that. P.
Hey, let me tell you this.
Yeah, baby.
Fort Hood, 2005. Let me tell you this. Brand new to the unit. Got to the unit. They packing up. We're going to damn NTC. They was like, you drive a forklift? I say, no. They say, you just learned today. Pack this damn Connex up. We going to lunch. We'll be back. And they left me out there. Packing the Connex by my damn self with a forklift.
Which you didn't know how to drive.
I had no clue. Khalif Nelson. To this day.
He put the government name out there.
I remember this name. Man, I packed that Connex. I knew I was shifting and moving that joint. I finally figured it out. He came back from lunch. Hey, man, you did a great job. I said, can I go to lunch? No, we got to pack the other Connex. Since you did a good job on this, you can pack. You the forklift driver. You gonna pack the other one. I said, man, this dude is tripping. But so when we go on deployment, you had your boards over there. When you have boards when you in the States.
Yeah,
then on the deployment, going to the board, he was like this, hey, you going to the board.
So explain to the people what the board means, P.
Man, the board is making it.
So we're talking about promotion.
We're talking about promotion. So you're going from E4 to E5, E5 to E6. Once you hit E7, you know what I mean? So that's it. Go on that board right there. But you know what I'm saying? I skated. Sergeant Major was in there. He was like this, man, you been working. I seen you. He just said, tell me the presidential candidates in this election. I said, huh? I'm in full battle rider. Full battle rider is I'm in vest, helmet, weapon, everything. Told him that. He said, oh, you passed. I already know your workout. E6.
Staff sergeant.
Quick. I said, man, what? He was like, man, I've been seeing you. I was like, really, Sergeant Major? You been watching me? I said, you a stalker?
So, P, I have a question for you. So it sounds like you kind of in line with me and Ryan being told what to do, because you gave a really good example of someone being told what to do without you having the proper knowledge and training in that particular situation. So I would say not only just being told what to do without training, without anything, just being thrown in the ocean and not being taught how to swim. That's what it sounded like when you gave me that example. Having to understand and being able to adapt to, if you don't know how to do it, you better learn quick.
Yeah, for sure. But I think our parents, or you know what I'm saying, dads, they taught us that.
Mm-hmm.
We already knew it, but we didn't realize what they was teaching us before we went to the next level, whether it was college, military, or whatever. We already had that understanding, and that already had that guidance. So we was already, man, shit. So you can throw us in anywhere.
Right.
We had that guidance.
Great point.
Come on, man. Shit, you could jump off the cliff, shit, with a damn parachute. You gonna come on goddamn land? For real. I'm real shit. We had great parents. I don't know what these new parents doing, but us back in the day.
Yeah, we are definitely part of the old school.
We have definitely adapted. And that goes for Ryan too, even though he's younger than us.
He in the same generation.
No,
he over 40.
Yeah, he
yeah, he in there.
Them
Hey, look, I know his mama.
He
He all right. He good. He good.
Yeah, man, them youngsters was watching us, man, making sure we was giving the right guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So look, all of you guys deployed at some point.
Absolutely.
Right. So you sign up, you enlisted, you go through your boot camps and your relative, exercises or whatever. Now you're in there, maybe the stress is still there, but not so much as when you joined, right? Now you're about to deploy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what that was like. Your first deployment, and also talk about, and I'll go back to a question I asked before about talking to your family and friends about that. We already talked about telling your family and friends that you were even joining, right? How was that conversation about now being deployed, and did you even have that conversation with your family and friends, So I guess that was kind of a two-part question. Your feelings about your first deployment, and what you feel your family and friends' feelings were about your first deployment.
So for me, it was a very stressful, very trying time. And I'm sure Ryan will give you his perspective and his analysis on it. But for me, my first deployment, I originally went into the Army before 9/11. And once 9/11 happened, of course, everybody in the armed forces got activated. If you were reserve, if you were National Guard, if you were in the armed forces, you were activated on alert to be deployed at some point in time. And if you happen to not get deployed, okay, you didn't get deployed. But the majority of people who were in the military during that time after 9/11, they were going to get deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom 1. So during that time, my grandmother was killed around the same time I got deployed. And at that moment in time, it was a very stressful time. It was a very trying time. But my brothers were there. My brothers were there for my mom. My brothers were there when I got deployed. So I was very stressed. I was very angry. I was very upset. My grandmother was a part of the community. She was killed in a robbery situation in Suitland, Maryland. And I got deployed. I had to go. I was on my way to Iraq. So it was a very trying time for the family. It was a very trying time for me. And I know it was a very trying time for my brothers. So for me, it allowed me to actually, in a weird way, it actually allowed me to get away from the stress and the drama of seeking justice and doing something that I may have regret in my life, or, you know, acting out or doing it. It took me away from the day-to-day trials and tribulations. Everybody loses somebody. Everybody is losing a family member every day. You know, there's nothing significant about that. But when it happens to you, it's significant to you. You know what I'm saying?
Very significant.
So for me, that was the most heartbreaking thing, but at the same time, a blessing, being taken away from that world and going into another world where I had to create a brotherhood. I had to create a new family. I had to create a new brother. I had to create new brothers because I wouldn't survive without them. I wasn't going to survive, and I wasn't going to get through this 548 days without creating a new family. So that's my perspective.
Yeah, for me, so definitely it was a stressful time. By the time I deployed to Iraq, I was senior sergeant on deck. I was in charge of about 200 Marines. So my, you know, I was, like Trey mentioned earlier, Brian and I had joined the Marine Corps, I don't know, 2-3 years before
Correct.
Trey joined the Army. But in deployment, Trey deployed first, and then Brian and I deployed maybe like 6 months later or 8 months later, something like that. So when I deployed, you know, we told family and friends we had already seen Trey off. You know, our family, we're descendants of men that have served in every war back to World War I or something like that. So it's not that our families, you know, didn't understand it. So families were supportive. I think our friends, our friends, I told friends were very, concerned. You know, after you see something like the towers, whether you were deploying to Afghanistan or Iraq, you know, it got real. You know, people, right. You know, when I joined the Corps, 9/11 hadn't happened. We hadn't gone to war in a long time. You're not really thinking that you're going to go to war, but right. They prep you for it. And so I think our friends and family were very supportive, sending care packages and, you know, those things, those little things mean a lot to service members when you are dug in. You know what I mean? I don't know about the Army, but in the Marines, we did get a lot. So the simple things that help you. I know they're gonna say something about that. But the other thing I wanted to say is leaving on that deployment. I starkly remember us mobilizing and getting the Marines together and seeing and family members of Marines, the girlfriends, the spouses, the kids, the parents, and looking folks in the face and saying, "Listen, we're gonna be all right." You know what I mean? And we going, where we going? We don't know what we got to do, but I would not have had it any other way with the group of Marines that I was with, because we had established that bond, and that's, you know, it's going through the difficulties of boot camp and all of the trainings that we do and everything that happens that prepares us for deployment. And so in the Marine Corps, you have to learn, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in the Army, you learn to have to like compartmentalize some things, right? Because I can't be thinking about back home when I'm out on a mission and I'm supposed to be
Absolutely.
covering the flank. You know what I mean? So like so that training starts all the way back in boot camp. That training starts all the way. And so when we left, I had no doubt we was gonna be fine. I had zero doubt. I mean, and we took fire the first day we landed. We took fire on the airstrip in the middle of Iraq. You know what I'm saying? So
you speaking about that, me being your brother and me having a little bit of a different perspective. When you talk about when you were leaving, I didn't know you left. I never knew you left. I was in the desert and a Marine walked up to me and gave me my last name and said,
"Yep, Holmes, that's
I
his
know
name."
your twin brothers." And it freaked me out. It freaked me out, Dub, because that security blanket was there. Because my mother was going through something. My mother had lost her mother, and I later find out while I'm over there, her father. So she lost both her parents while all her sons were in Iraq. And at that moment in time, I'm thinking my brothers are there to help mom. She's okay. Let me go do what I got to do. I'll be back. But when they told me that they were coming too, it changed everything for me, because now my mother is by herself. My mother doesn't have anybody. And before we get in, I'll let P go. Before we get into that, because she didn't have anybody, she's a powerful woman. She can do many things. I have so much respect and love for women in general, but my mother is a special woman. And the reason why she's a special woman is because one day, a 3-star general calls a lieutenant, a colonel, who calls a lieutenant colonel, who calls the commander, who calls the lieutenant, who then calls the first sergeant, who then calls me and says, "We need you to go talk to a 4-star general." And I didn't know why. But by the time I got to the 4-star general, my mother had reached out to so many powerful people in the government back home that a 4-star general had gave me the phone to speak to my mother to let her know that I was okay. Please let your mother know you good, because you haven't responded to her emails. You haven't responded. So mom wanted to know what was going on with her boys. I'm sure my brothers have different experiences, but there were some generals coming on my end from the Army saying, "Hey, you need to make sure you keep in contact with your mom," because she was very concerned. And a lot of people always ask us, and if you Google our names, if you Google these things, we had a big PBS special where they did a documentary on the family, so on and so forth. But there's a rule, the Saving Private Ryan rule. When you have brothers all in the war zone, that one brother's supposed to come back to save that name. People get that rule confused. The rule is the other brothers must die in order for that brother to and he still has to request to go home.
Come back.
They must die. Yeah. It doesn't mean brothers, uncles, sisters, husbands, wives, we all are going to war. When we get deployed, there are no rules that identify that. So that's something that I learned when I was there. So again, like Ryan spoke about him being deployed and him identifying with that brotherhood and getting focused on these things. For me, it was frightening because Now I know my mom is home by herself. There's no one there for her. So
Mm.
Yeah.
And Trey, what I had, I don't know if I've ever told you this. That exact same thing happened to Brian and I with the general. They called us into the general's office,
Wow.
sat us down, and said, First they said, "Are y'all all right? How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Sir, we are good to go. We got these missions coming out today. We got this, sir. What do you need? Whatever you need, we can take care of.
Right.
Just tell me."
Right.
He's like, "No."
Right,
He's
right.
like, "Eddie's son, Eddie's." He said, "No. How
Yeah.
are you doing?"
yeah.
and then he says, "Listen, then after we get through all that, Brian and I were on night crew and day crew. So I would see Brian every day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. We would give each other the pass down. We would basically turn over the battalion to each other because Brian was the next sergeant in line of seniority, and so that's what we did. And so the general and the colonel knew all they had to do was find a swan. They found a swan. They would get whatever it is they needed, and so they had us both in the office tray, and he said, "Listen, man," he said, "Your mom, this is where I found out, the calls to the White House and Pentagon and the Washington Post and the news and everything." And then they said, "Here, take this sat phone, call your mother, and whenever you want to come in here to call your mother, you only got to ask me." My doggone my executive assistant, who's like a colonel, or it's like a captain. They know. You just walk in here and pick up the phone and call your mother whenever you want. So we call mom, we talk to her. Yeah.
That's really dope that you expressed that to me because I didn't know that. But there was a murder investigation going on. You know?
At the same time. Yep.
When you think about it, like we were taking, I don't know what would have happened if we all were home. I don't know what would have transpired if we were all home. There was a murder investigation going, and our mother is emailing, calling, writing letters to the president.
Yep.
And
Wow.
And congressmen, senators,
congressmen, senators, everything.
and this information traveled across the world, across the other end of the world into the Middle East, and we were able to speak to our mom.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were able to put her at give her some type of peace. And when I came home first, if I'm not mistaken, I came home first, and then the twins came home after me. But it was a difficult time for her. And I find myself, and this is one thing that I will say to people who don't know about being in the military, you're going to find yourself in some troubled times and some troubled situations. And when some lonely times, some stressful times, some unfair, some situations that are going to be on a level that you probably think that you would never get through. So then when you go back into the civilian world and you deal with the little bit of chaos that's there, it will allow you to just say, hey, I can resort back to something that I went through much worse than this. And it's a therapy. It's a mental therapy that you do within your own mind to say, hey, if I got through that, I can get through this.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Pete? How did you feel, on your first deployment when you first found out you were going to be deployed?
My first deployment, I was in Bible study. You hear what I'm saying?
You said you was in Bible study.
I was in Bible study.
Wow.
On my first deployment. They called me and they's like, hey, we going. I was like, we going where? Around the corner? We get some snacks. Where we going? I can be. They like, hey man, we're going. All right. I said, all right, cool. Man, and I had to take a second. Man, I cried. I said, man, this is it.
Yeah.
Because I was watching that joint on the news when the first bombs went off. And, bruh, everybody hugging me. I ain't want no damn hugs.
You said you wanted to stay home.
Nigga,
You wanted to stay right where you was.
Yeah, I need to be home. I said, oh, this might be it, man. This might be my last hug.
You going
So
to
I
the
guess I'm
upper
gonna
room?
take it. What, Jesus? So after I got over that, and I had to pack my little 72-hour bag. See, people don't understand this. 72 hours means 72 hours. You pack enough to sustain you for those 72 hours. So when I packed that bag, Tricons and Connex was already packed because we already knew what was going on. Then when I got to the unit, went back, they said, all right, we ready to roll. I said, damn, they quick, huh? I said, I'm about to be single. Y'all might about to leave me because we about to be over here for a long damn time. Let me tell y'all, I ate beef stew, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 6 months. I was
Camp
in
Anaconda.
Camp Anaconda.
Ooh,
I remember.
I've been through there.
I remember this.
Been there.
Bruh, what's for breakfast? Beef stew. What's for lunch?
Beef stew.
What's for dinner? Beef stew. I was like, man.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? But
so is it safe to say you don't eat beef stew anymore?
I love it though. Put that cheese on it. Yeah,
Okay.
man. That's the
Best,
thing
you said the
smoking,
best
man.
thing smoking.
But listen, when you got over that joint though, then the first 2003, you had to drive across the border. It's not like after the fact you can fly your joints in, fly your trucks in and stuff like that on C-130s. Back then,
you got to be at the ready.
You had to drive across the border.
You land, you get in that convoy, and you got to be at the ready because you got about an hour and a half, 2 hour ride. Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
Just getting across the border. Then when you hit a stopping point, you got them dudes over there. Look, they're not supposed to see sneaky magazines like what is it, Exum or what was that magazine used to be? They ain't supposed. Yeah.
Oh, double XL.
Yeah, they ain't never. Oh, I said, hey, I got some magazines.
You over there trying to make friends.
I'm sure. Oh no, sir, we cannot see that. Why not? Man, that was scary.
Yeah. You touched on a good point.
That was a scary part of my life.
You actually land into the Middle East.
Oh boy, you was on it.
There's a mental thing that goes on way before family, Germany, preparation, being trained in whether you're in San Diego, I think for the Marines. For me, I was in Indiana. I was in Camp Atterbury. For me, before when you get ready to mold, that's a different feeling. But when you land in the Middle East, it's a surreal moment.
It's a surreal moment.
It is a surreal moment.
Yeah,
and
it don't matter what time of the day it is. We landed in the middle of the night. It was hot as hell. Yeah. I said, "Oh my God!"
Yeah. Let me say this, Trey. From my first deployment to my fourth deployment, I learned to check out. I checked out from my whole household.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that without my wife, kids, they mean nothing. I mean, they meant something to me, but I had to check out because I would have them in the back of my mind the whole time.
Psychologically, you had to go into a different place.
You got to go into a totally different place. You checked out, and they think that you don't love them, but
I
you
did
do
that as
love
well.
them, but you got to check out.
That's what's going to get you
But
home.
that's what's going to get you back,
Exactly.
though. You gotta
Yeah.
I agree.
That's going to get you
Great
home.
point.
That's right.
If you sitting there thinking about them the whole time, bruh, you're not finna make it back.
And that's why when I meet family members, people come up to me and they say, Ryan, thank you for your service. My dad served in X, Y, and Z, or my husband served, or my wife served. I say thank you for your service, because
Right.
it takes a village to put a Marine, a soldier, an airman, a sailor, in harm's way, and that impact on the family unit
Critical.
is
Critical.
There are sacrifices made, not only by the service members, but about with the families. You know what I mean? And I can't tell you how many times you got to check in on Marines to make sure that that stuff at home is not distracting them. You know what I mean? You can kind of see it in their eyes. You know what I mean? You could tell them when they zoned in, or when they there, but they really thinking there. You know what I mean? And all you need is a hesitation. A 10-second hesitation could be the difference. You know what I mean? Of everybody coming home or folks not coming home.
You hit the point right on the head, Ryan.
True.
And I think, family being able to step in and support, during that time, my second daughter was born. Without my family, and I mean everyone, from my mother to my father to my father's side of the family, all included. Everybody pitched in while I was gone, because I was having a child, a daughter, who is, a critical part of my life. And without my family being there to pick up my absence, the outcome may have been a little different. So I definitely agree with that.
Yep.
And just, that's very critical. The support that families give when people are deployed, when brothers and sisters and husbands and wives are deployed, is amazing. And we definitely want to, it's not only the service people, thank you for your service, but it's thank you for your support for those families that keep those care packages coming. I can't, my whole unit was waiting for my mom's care packages because they couldn't wait. They were ready. They was like, Mom sending the cookies. She's sending everything, videos, everything. So popcorn, everything.
Popcorn.
Hey man, tell your mom thank you for this. I'm like, you are not even supposed to have that.
So with the family and the support, I think those are great points. And I would ask kind of a follow-up question to that. Coming from being deployed and you come home, right? And you're with your family, and you guys' individual perspectives, what were a thing or some things that you found it difficult to communicate to your friends and families about you being a different person returning than when you left?
That question for me, I wasn't able to articulate it to anyone. They couldn't understand what it is that I went through. They couldn't understand what it is mentally, physically. They just couldn't understand it. So for me, I just was being accepting to that. This wasn't something that I say, hey, you guys need to understand what I've gone through. Look at me. No, I just went on with, I tried to get on with my life, if you will, and try to push forward in different ways. But I kind of understood, and this is just my opinion, I kind of went under the mentality and understood that if you haven't been to the Middle East, you just not going to understand. Because there's a brotherhood, there's an understanding, regardless of what branch you are, Air Force, Navy, Marine, or Army, if you have been to the Middle East and you have served, I'm going to say more than 2 weeks, then you have a clear distinction of the appreciation of being in country and on American soil. So when I came home, I really didn't care about what other people thought. I was so happy to be walking in some grass. I was so happy to be walking in a house. I was so happy to have a vehicle. I was so happy to see loved ones. I was so appreciative of my whole environment that I really didn't take time to think about whether or not people really understood what I went through mentally. And my mindset was basically that they probably wouldn't. They probably couldn't understand that.
So are you saying that you were definitely a different person when you came home, and you're saying that you felt like you wasn't able to explain why you were different?
I was definitely different, and I was definitely, I definitely felt that, people would ask me, what it's like, what was it like being deployed, and I would tell them, but I don't really think they understood the magnitude of what that entails. Yeah, they don't really understand what that looks like. And the reason why I know that is because I used to be them. I used to be the guy who said, "Oh wow, you went to Desert Storm. What is that like?" Oh, they tell me, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." But when I go into Operation Iraqi Freedom and I tell somebody that, I believe that they're appreciative, but completely understanding, I'm not sure I've ever even made an attempt to get anyone to understand. But to the first part of the question, was I a different person? Was I a different man? Yes. I would say that I even actually became a better man because I was deployed, because I went into the military. There are levels to me as a man that have developed through these trials and these tribulations. A man can't be developed without having any trials and tribulations. So if you ask me, why am I a particular way, or why am I this type of man, it may resort back to my military life. And it may not. It depends on what you ask. But the top characteristic that changed was being more appreciative of just being able to have a conversation with somebody in a peaceful environment.
What about you, Ryan?
Coming back definitely changed me. I mean, It took me maybe 6 months, maybe a year to get off the edge. Like that edge. I would walk into a restaurant and size the whole restaurant up.
That's
like
right.
So what's the medical term for that?
I need my back
Post-traumatic
to
stress?
the door. I need help. It could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Hell, when we got back, we get back to San Diego. We in I don't know, Motel 6 or something like that. There's so many of us. They had us. We couldn't all stay on base, so we having formation. We having formation in the parking lot of a Motel 6, and a civilian, slams one of the doors in the Motel 6, and we could hear the noise. Everybody grabbed their weapon. You know what I mean? So, like we were on. That is just the level of like alertness that you were just operating on for such a long time, and it took me a significant time to come down off that. Our primary our primary location was Al Assad, which is an air base in Iraq. But we did missions all over Iraq. We supported. We attached the second lat and supported missions. Missions in Fallujah, missions all over Baghdad, all over the place, all in
So
Iraq.
it's safe
though.
to
I
say
didn't
that you
look for
saw a lot
Afghanistan.
of alerts, a lot of hostile fire.
Oh yeah, we got
Right.
we got attacked the first night we got there, man.
Yeah.
They would do all types of stuff, man. I mean, it's something about like it was a point where I could hear a rocket coming in our direction from like so far away. It's about 2 minutes out. I remember this one time we had this little hut you could use to call home on a calling.
I remember those
because this is all this, you had to use these calling cards to try to call home, and I was off duty. You know what I mean? So we was 12 hours on, 12 hours off, no days off, 365, no days off, baby. And I remember stepping outside the hut, hearing it, looking, coming back in, yelling, "Incoming!" and everybody's hitting the floor. You know what I mean? The whole doggone the whole shack just shake because it landed. I don't know, maybe 200 yards from where we were at, and it's just that level of alertness. Marines, when we came back, you had to demobilize.
Definitely.
You had to demobilize, right? And it was important for our junior Marines, as well as the leaders, to like make sure folks were like that to come down. And the more direct combat or imminent danger that soldiers and Marines, mostly soldiers and Marines, see the most kind of imminent danger. Air Force is there, but they're not going house to house. And so coming back, that's something that we just didn't talk about, unless I agree with Trey, unless you had been there, you know what I mean? And you had, you could understand, until you get to a point where you have coped with it internally. You may talk to the unit therapist or the command therapist rather, that type of thing. But definitely changed me. Definitely changed what I believe I could do. You know what I mean?
There's nothing we can't do.
There's nothing I can't do. Everything nothing compares. Nothing compares. Nothing even get close. So.
Before we let Pete get off, I think that's key to the audience, for parents, for young men, young women who are thinking about going into the military, or who don't have a goal or an objective to go. I think one thing that you can take from some of the stories that we're talking about is being able to have the mindset that you can persevere over just anything. You can overcome and persevere over anything. So I think that's critical to identify and point out, So
yeah, man. So my first experience, my first deployment, like I said, I was
Bible study.
I was in Bible study. We got over there, but studying the Bible. I was trying to be right with the Lord. But we were right next to prison in Iraq. We were right next to the prison, but I'm an ammo guy. So I was in the aviation unit. So we delivering ammo to the pads that day. They had us dialed up. And y'all know what I mean when I say they dialed up. For the listeners that don't know what I mean when they dialed up, it means they are sitting out there, they see your location, and they have been shooting off mortars enough times so they got you pinpointed.
Exactly.
Boom, boom, boom. They hitting. I had just
You
came
said
out
porta
of this
potty?
porta potty.
Tell people what porta
Yes.
potty means, man. People
Porta
don't know
potty.
what porta
And
potty
guess
is.
what happened? Porta potty is a basic toilet. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not a
Plastic
toilet.
toilet, man.
It's not a toilet. It don't flush.
Yeah, you're right.
If
Y'all
you can
right.
get
It
through a
don't
porta potty,
flush.
you can get through
You go
anything,
in there,
goddamn.
you know, you got the blue water at the bottom. So as soon as I come out the porta potty, I get in the truck, we're leaving off the pad. Boom. Hit the porta potty.
Damn.
Destroyed it.
Mm.
And destroyed a bird. So that's why I said they had us, and that's summertime. If you've been in Iraq, Afghanistan, you already know mortars are coming constantly. They're just trying to find where you at, and they're just trying to get lucky.
So what characteristics, P, what when you came back home, what did you take from your experience? And then did people really understand what you went through?
Nah, never. You never can understand what you're going through unless you've been over there. I still go to behavioral health. Matter of fact, the doc from the Pentagon put me in a new referral. I still go through this shit to the day. For real. You'll never understand this stuff. People think that it's cool that you've been in the military, that you've been over there, you served your country. I still go through this to the
It's a
day.
sacrifice, man. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I go to behavioral health.
You said you go where?
Every week. Twice a week.
What is that?
Behavioral health is when you talking to a counselor.
So you go see a therapist.
Yeah, I go see a therapist. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
People
wrong
think
with
there's
that at
something
all.
wrong with
No,
It's
there's
not.
nothing wrong with that at all.
You better go see somebody because I mean,
Better go see somebody.
your mental is totally different when you've been on deployment.
And how many deployments did you?
And
How
you've
many
been in that
deployments
type
did
of
you do?
environment. It's nothing wrong. 4.
Mm.
4 solid joints. 2007 to 2009.
No days off.
Oh, I heard you.
Y'all didn't hear what I said. For the audience, 2007 to 2009. Think about that.
The whole world
People
has changed when you come home.
If you calculating over there, that's a couple years. 2.
Mm-hmm.
For real. For them folk that can't add and subtract. That's 2 Christmases, 2 Thanksgivings,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
the New Year's. Matter of fact, we touched down on Thanksgiving Day. That was a tough time. I ain't gonna lie. That was rough for me.
But you here and you got
I'm
through
gonna
it.
tell you. I was like, damn. Yeah, fuck all that. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Man, some people lost their damn wives and families over there, fucking with 2 years being on deployment.
Good people, good men and
Good
women.
dudes. So when we did come back, like a month later, I had staff duty. Me and my neighbor, the whole time on deployment, in the tubes. He was about to start his little radio thing or whatever. And we on duty. I leave. He said, "Hey, Sarge, I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna sleep it off. Have a good day." Guess what he went upstairs and did? Killed himself.
Yeah, suicide is very high amongst.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
suicide is.
That was tough for me. That was definitely tough.
Mm-hmm.
I knew this dude personally. That still affects me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it was a good dude. Man, that was tough. And they called me back in. It's like, Did you know he was gonna kill himself? How am I supposed to know he's gonna kill himself? We were just talking. His wife called me on the phone. Hey, you know what? You know what my husband is? I was like, I left him. He went up there to go take a nap. So she called the next person that was on staff duty. They went upstairs. This dude had blew his brains out.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Bruh, I'm telling you, I've been through like 5 or 6 suicides.
Let me ask you this. And I'm at obviously all three of y'all this question. Because this is something that bothers me.
What's that?
And I've never been in the service. So where I am, I see a lot of younger men wearing like tactical clothes is what I call it. They dress very they dress very military-ish. And they assume to act very military-ish, but they have never been in the military. And I personally have a problem when I see men act like that. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
When they act like they are military or have been, and you ask the question and they've never served. And I'm asking you, it bothers me. I'm asking you, do you have a perspective on that, or do you not even pay that any attention? Is not even in your radar? You understand what I'm saying?
It is on my radar, and it's really not, because unless they got badges on or something like that, I'll pay attention and be like, man, come on, man, really? Don't disrespect, man.
Right.
Because you know you ain't served a day in your life. That part, but if they got on like fatigue pants or something like that, but if you got on a full military uniform with medals and honors, and
if you have on a particular patch or a particular badge or rank or crest or something that somebody had to work hard for to get or die for to get, someone will come up to you and challenge whether or not you deserve or even earn that particular patch. You know, there are a lot of people that like to wear motorcycle jackets. There are a lot of people that like to wear different type of fatigues. That's kind of the style. Military, you know, digital wear, especially when it comes to Marine patches and Navy SEAL patches and Army Ranger patches and Delta Force and all these different things that some people can get their hands on. Normally, the civilians can't get their hands on those type of things. But if you have someone who is wearing a patch or wearing something that means something to you, you may go and have a conversation with that person just to see if they been where you've been. And if they haven't been, then that may rub you the wrong way and say, hey, man, you need to take that. I've seen a lot of people do that. I haven't had that experience myself, but I can see where if somebody is saying they were in the military and they were in Iraq, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Djibouti, in Afghanistan, Pakistan, wherever it may be, in the Middle East on some level, and they really haven't been, I can see where someone would challenge them and try to enforce to make them take that off, because it's really a disrespect to the men and women who have died for those particular, who have died to allow you to do what you do today. So for the security of the nation. So when you have our fallen soldiers, it's more about the fallen soldiers, in my opinion. You know, so, you know, if I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom and I had a battle buddy who died, and I see a gentleman wearing Operation Iraqi Freedom has a fad or has something that's cool to do, I'm gonna have an issue with it. You know, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, I totally agree.
just that simple.
Just that
Right.
simple, dog.
Ron said, yeah, I totally agree. That's it.
Hey, I like it. So the last question I got for you guys, from my perspective, I feel like not enough African American men and women look to join the military by choice from a positive sense. Normally, it's a negative connotation, like, hey, if you ain't gonna do nothing, you going to the military. If you're not gonna go to college, you going to the military. If you're gonna flunk out of school, you going to the military. Like, it's almost in our community, I feel like it's said it's like a punishment and not as a rewarding experience that I hear from more than enough men and women that have served. Why do you guys, in your own perspectives, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's such a negative connotation with the military or joining the military in the Black community? And it's not, for me, I don't think it's represented as a rewarding situation, as more than it is represented as a consequence to not having your shit together.
And that's, for me, it's a real quick answer. It's Uncle Sam. It's too much like slavery. It resembles too much like slavery. When you have someone at the top ranks, which majority of every branch, not just one branch, not just the Army, the Marines, or the Navy, or the Air, when you have the majority who don't look like you, dictating what the rules are, whether or not you can have a beard or not, whether or not you can wake up, whether or not, when you have so much control to the African American community, this looks, sounds similar to slavery. And I think this is how our current society kind of interprets this perception, but not actually understanding what it is they're doing. They're not saying that, but they're so anti-system, anti-government, anti-everything. They relate this to just how we would relate being enslaved. So that's the first thing. The second thing for me would be the fact that you're putting your life on the line for a country that essentially does not care for the principles of your culture. You're essentially putting your life on the line. You're essentially going to work for, you're essentially saying, I will die for this country. Who will not give me the same in return? So therefore, this is why I am anti that. I will never see that. So the flip side of all of that, because there's validation in a lot of that. There are some people that can speak to that and pinpoint it, and historians and scientists and people that way above my intellect that can factually speak to that. But when you're talking about a lost generation, when you're talking about lost men and women who are being raised by the streets, that foundation, that discipline, those principles, those values, those Marine values, those Army values, those things will help you become a better person. And what I would tell my African American young adults is, if you don't have those core values within you, the armed forces will definitely put those in you.
Go ahead, Pete.
Man, the military thing is a great thing. You can You can do anything that you want to do, anything that you dreamed of doing the military thing. The military is not for everybody. I will say that because some people crash out before you even finish basic training or period. But it's a guide to put you in the right place at the right time and get you focused on what you need to be focused on. So you don't have to do 8, 6, 5 years. You can do a couple of years. But after those couple of years that you do this, you know where you want to be and you know what you want to do. You can go to college. You can do whatever you want to, pick up a trade. That's why I tell people now, hey man, if college thing is not for you, pick up a trade. But the Army will help you, or the Marines or Air Force, whatever. And you get to see the world, man. I have been around the world and it's great, man. I love it. Man.
26
years next July.
That's amazing.
26 years I've done this thing, so man, this thing has been nothing but a blessing to me.
Kudos to you.
Family.
Kudos to you, P. Congratulations, man.
I appreciate you. I can't tell people what to do, but I know this for a fact. Whatever branch of the military that you go to, you can get something out of it. You get what you put into it. Period. You know what I'm saying? People will tell you, "Oh, you didn't do this. You didn't look into stuff." And sometimes people don't tell you these things. You gotta do your own research. That's in life. People will give you guidance or whatever like that. Do your own research. Make sure what they talking about is what's the real.
Yep.
And that's how I was able to make it this long in the military, honestly. And I love it. Shit. 26.
Standing.
Hey, 26 motherfucking stinking years. Hey, I did that shit.
License plate say bad, you know motherfucker.
I'm 10 toes in this bitch, man. Yeah. Hey, I put a stamp on this motherfucker. Yeah. You better
know it, goddammit.
You better know it.
Can't nobody tell you shit.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. I
got nothing but respect for it.
All right, Ryan. Let's go, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, you got anything on this one, man? About the
the only thing I would say is if it was easy, it would be worth it.
Come on, speak your
shit. Is anything man. That's worth it ever easy?
I like that young man right there.
So when I think about it, and I think about the good, the bad, the ugly of everything, it's still worth it. It's still worth it, right? You know what I mean? That to be able to say that you strapped him up, that you was willing to put yourself, put the we before the me, and in the process, you're gonna learn a whole lot. You're gonna learn the trade. You're gonna get a brother sisterhood. But you also gonna learn how to deal with some crazy stuff. And in this world, when you go out into the civilian world, you're gonna deal with some crazy stuff. And so we talk about the ups and the downs, but that's life. You know what I mean? Those that are able to know that, hey man, it's not what happened to you, it's how you respond. Like those that understand that can be successful in whatever it is that you want to do, man. I don't care if you want to open up a basket weaving shop. It don't matter what you want to do. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? You know, it's that discipline, it's that grit that's gonna help you get there. And so I think sometimes our people don't they listen to the media, they listen to things, and they just don't see it as an option, or it's always looked at as a negative thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it that way. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I tell people all the time, listen, if you're open to it, you should explore it. You need to figure out if it's for you, and don't be willing to just try it. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody saying you got to do the 26, but you can do it. You know what I mean? But along the way, you're going to have points to say, hey, man, I think 6 is good for me. I'm checking out. I think 8 is good for me. I'm out. 12 good for me. I'm out. You know what I mean? Or you go so long. Go ahead, Trey.
Make sure you're doing this honorably. Make sure that you finish what you start, and understand that, along with what Ryan is saying, that there is a brotherhood. There is an alumni, if you will, that will allow you to move forward in the civilian world. When you put that you served in the Marines on your resume, when you put that you served in the Air Force, when you put that you served in the Army, when you put that you have served in the Navy, there is a brotherhood and a understanding that this person is trustworthy, number one. This person has selflessness, number two, along with any other traits that you have that will come along when you're looking for someone, when it comes to interviewing people, when it comes to job search, finding a new job. If you put a military person that has a military background versus a civilian background, and they have the same education, which person is the manager going to hire? They're going to hire the person that has the military background because it's a safer risk. There's always risk. There's a bad apple in every bunch, right? But there's always risk, but they're going to go with the person which they know has been trained to have selflessness, that's been trained to have a certain type of honor. And I think, courage, these things are things that will take you far in the civilian world. And guess what? You never know. You may run across another Army guy. For me, which I did run into another Army guy, and the brotherhood was stamped and approved, and I was able to move forward, and he blessed me with some things that I may not have even been worthy of. But because I was a part of that brotherhood, he made sure that I had the opportunity to prove myself, to show that I was worthy of that particular opportunity that he gave me. Same thing for Marines. I know if any branch don't do it, the Marines do it. So I'll let...
Devil Dog, what's up?
You can have a white man, a Chinese man, a black man, a Hispanic man. If they Marines, you better watch out. You better watch out.
Oh yeah, watch out. That's right.
Because they bleed devil dogs. Yeah. They don't see no color. They don't see no color. Yeah, man. Right. Yeah,
that's
man.
Right. We all
facts.
We all bleed green. Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey man, look, I don't have no more questions about anything, man. What I will say is, I've always respected y'all just from being friends.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
And the sacrifices y'all made, just it just the cherry on the top. So I appreciate you,
love
fellas.
You too, bro.
I respect you. I love you.
Yeah, love you too, man.
And I definitely admire y'all's courage and the sacrifices that you guys have gone through. To make sure people like me can sit here and use a regular damn toilet. You know what I'm saying? And not a damn porta potty.
Hey, nasty.
And yeah, hey, and with that, Trey, I'm gonna leave it open to you, man. I'm gonna let you close the show out, and it could go wherever we want it to go.
Cool. So I wanna definitely thank you, Doug, for asking those questions. You definitely challenged me, and I tapped into some feelings and some things that I hadn't thought about in years. So definitely thank you. One of the major things I want to really get out of this show and really point to is that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. For my young Black women and men, I understand you want to do hair, you want to be a rapper, you want to be in the NFL, you want to be in the NBA. I got it. I completely get it. But there is a time and there is a place for you to lay some foundation where you can still chase your goals and still have some foundation there where you'll be able to have some income coming in, have some income coming in for your benefits, have some income coming in for your lodging, utilizing the armed forces and the military for what it's there for, a calling to service. But understand that it's not a game. Understand that you will be called and tasked to put your name and your life on the line. You can't just back down. This is not just a job. This is not just, oh, I don't want to do it no more. This is a lifestyle. This is something that is serious. So I just want to let the youth, the younger adults know, the 18 to 25-year-olds know that the military is still there for you if you're not sure about what it is you want to do. Because I see a lot of young men, especially, I'm gonna speak about the young men. I see a lot of young men that don't have the discipline, that don't have the control, that don't have the drive or the selflessness about them. And I think that those things can be triggered. Those things can be really identified if you give the military an option and a try. So, that's just one thing. And again, when you're on the back end, when you done 26 years like P has done,
shout out to Ryan, man.
When you
Appreciate
served your time
brother.
like Ryan has done, and you done what I've done, you get a lot of perks. Appreciate you, bro. You get a lot of perks, man. I mean, you're talking about a VA loan. You're talking about a guaranteed loan, regardless of what your credit look like. A guaranteed loan to make sure that you get a house.
That's what you tell me.
That's right.
Yes, you need that money. Yeah. And you're talking about if you serve the military, you also get paid to go to school. I have blessed so many people with the knowledge of making sure that you don't leave anything behind. If you have served, if you have done your time in the military, do the research. evet.com, va.gov, so many different resources. Do your research so you can get the benefits that you need. Ryan will tell you, I made a mistake. I made a mistake of just talking about my degree instead of not talking about my master's or my PhD. But I made sure my brothers did. I made sure, hey, when you go back to the VA and don't put the degree in there. Put that you want your PhD or you want your master's. So we're going to make sure that on the back end that you get those resources that you deserve for serving your country. Because again, on the back end, the grass is really green. You just got to get through it. You got to get through it. You got to work hard. You got to sacrifice. It's not for everybody, like P said. But I tell you what, when you have the alternative is poverty, crime, violence, whatever. When you have the alternative as that, guess what? The military is the best thing for you because it's going to keep you out of trouble. It's going to keep you out the way. So, definitely look into it. Again, make sure if you're a veteran, if you've already served your time, if you've already done those years honorably, make sure you go back and see what benefits you can get. And that's what I'm here for. That's when it comes to Dub and Trey, that's what, reach out to me. I'll make sure you get the right links and the right, research to get that done. So, that's all I got. Appreciate you, Dub. Ryan, P. I'll let y'all go. I'll let you go, Ryan.
I appreciate y'all. This was great.
Final words.
I echo the comments. At the end of the day, it's not for everybody, but it can be for anybody. You just got to want it. You just got to the only person stopping it is you. Because if you want it,
facts,
they will find a way for it to happen for you. You might not do the job that you want. Maybe you're not going to qualify for this or qualify for that. But as long as you still want it, they will find a way. So the question is, what's for you, and that's what it's about. And so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Thank God for everything that I had. If it wasn't for God,
absolutely,
I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Absolutely.
So I definitely got to thank God. God put me in a place, and I'm glad He put me in that place. It wasn't easy, but He told me. He said, "Whatever I ask for, He gonna give it to me." And I asked Him to guide me through this. He did. So I'm humble and I'm appreciative. And I thank y'all brothers, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Hey, man. Thank you. We out.